Hi everyone, Rose Webster here. I just want to update you that this week we have even more proof that Wolbachia is infecting the food chain. In fact, a mass die-off of our Antarctic penguin chicks alarms the researchers. It said that the chicks starved due to unusual amounts of sea ice that forced parents to travel further for food. Now, I write for Paw, Main and Fin, and I know a little about penguins, so I researched this a little more because the alarm bells went off when I read that the mass die-offs occurred because unusually large amounts of sea ice forced penguin parents to travel further in search of food for their young. And this was like a colony of 40,000, and only 2 chicks survived. So I started thinking, no, there's probably Wolbachia to do with this at the root of it. And sure enough, the evidence is even stronger than for these whales. Now, not only did the chicks starve, but the partner who stayed beside also had to endure a long fast. And this was the quote from Jan Robert-Couder, a marine ecologist with the French science agency CNRS. CNRS kind of rang a bell for me, and I'll explain why later. Here's what you need to know about these penguins, though. How far did they have to travel, these thousands of parents? No one says. Here's the facts. The longest trek that has been recorded is 17,600 kilometers, or 10,900 miles. The Antarctic Circle is roughly 17,662 kilometers, so that's almost like going around the entire Antarctic. They can swim more than 1,200 kilometers away from their breeding site, and they can dive as deep as 575 feet. These are very hardy animals. So when thousands of these chicks die and only 2 survive, the logical thing to look at is a contagious viral or bacterial cause. However, I was surprised that the narrative was already set. Now, I wanted to look at into what they eat, and of course, Wikipedia, it only states they feed mainly on Antarctic krill, ice krill, silverfish, sea krill, and glacial squid. In other places I saw squid. Well, you know what? A 2013 study actually found that prey diversity was found to be greater than previously thought. Krill, fish, copepods, and amphipods were the most important food groups. No squid DNA was identified in this study, and they repeated a few things and then later said, we have confidence that the absence here represents reality and that squid were unimportant in the diet of these penguin populations. Notably, copepods were a major food item. Okay? And it says here, co-ingestion analysis indicated that copepods were present in association with fish in the diet more often than krill. So, as I've mentioned before in my previous PSAs, is that one Mesocyclops longitudinalis, I'm sorry I'm not saying it right, can destroy 40 Aedes larvae. That's one of those copepods. And they nibble away at them, and it seems that the more larvae they are, the more these copepods will nibble away at parts of them. Well, that's going to spill out the Wolbachia, which can survive a week in a dead host, and Zika virus or any other viruses that might be present. And this gets consumed. I understand with penguins, they chew up the food, regurgitate it to their young. However, my sense is this, is that the parents know there's something wrong with these chicks. Okay, there's something wrong with them. They probably can't swallow. If you remember the babies born with microcephaly in Brazil, a year on, they had to have feeding tubes. And in 2014, we saw a massive breeding failure with Arctic terns as well. And in nature, what happens is parents sometimes just abandon the chicks, or they know there's something wrong with them, or there is something with their central nervous system going on that's being targeted by Wolbachia and perhaps Zika, because West Nile virus has even been found in wild populations of penguins. And as you know, Zika shares that phylogenetic clade with over 97% nodal support. So, even though there's this big consortium with stakeholders meeting about these whales, and they're all going to get on board with the major players, well, that pathologist report did not look at anything beyond 2008. They're basing blunt force trauma on severe internal bleeding that pointed to perhaps ship strikes which occurred before the Zika, before Wolbachia infected the food chain. So my point is, this is going to keep happening. We're going to see mass die-offs, and there's only so long we can go with this. Now the CNRS, I want you to be aware, because it rang a bell, because way back, it was, I don't know, it was a few months ago, but John Clayton, who is a postdoctoral research, he kind of trolled me. I'm getting very beat up over my theory. And I want to show you that CNRS and INSERM and these affiliations are all tied into who funds the Wolbachia-infected Aedes releases. You need to know where the money is, because the problem is with some researchers, it's not per se their problem, but the problem is they're bound by their funding. And they cannot, they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. So we're going to have people unwilling to come forward, and you're going to hear a lot of pollution's to blame, climate change. There was a big study saying 1 in 6 people are going to die from pollution. Well, you know, in those areas, it could also be Wolbachia in the food chain with Zika affecting the gonads, heart, central nervous system, optic lobe, and retina. And I think my theory is panning out. However, there's a great deal of effort, even by the UN, they're watching my page, to keep this under wraps. Well, it's not going to stay that way. These die-offs are going to keep happening, if I'm correct. And they may even start to happen in humans. I suspect homeless people, especially people that are exposed to the elements overnight. Thanks again for listening. I'll keep you updated.